Welcome to you all. Today again we're going to learn some other new concept that is a monopoly market. Let us know one by one in detail. Monopoly. So what is the monopoly? So what are the features of monopoly? And that one we'll understand one by one. Actually, the word monopoly is made up of two syllables, that is the mono means single and poly means cell. So monopoly means existence of single seller in the market. There is no much sellers in the a single seller existed in the market. So monopoly is a form in which single producer controls the whole supply of a commodity and which has no substitutes. This is one important feature of monopoly. So it can be created. There is a strong barriers to enter into the industry. So that barriers can be, it may be a natural or it may be a artificially created by individual or maybe government intervention. The best example we can see the Indian Railway is an monopoly and there is no other agency that provide this kind of services, and that's why it is a monopoly power. And let us know what is a pure monopoly. Pure monopoly is a market situation in which there is absolutely no substitute of the product and the total market is under the control of the single firm. It's called as the pure monopoly, but at present no pure monopoly existed. That is one important observation. Now definition we'll see that according to Professor Watson, monopoly is the only producer of a product and which has no substitutes is called as a monopoly according to Watson. And in the words of Professor J.S. Bain, single firm monopoly occurs when one seller stages the whole show. He produces such a product and which has no close substitution or no rival at all in the market. And according to Professor Stigler, is a single seller. Monopolist is a single seller of a commodity in terms of number of sellers. When you come to the point of number of sellers, now in a monopoly only single seller and there is a no opposite competition. No one are existed in the economy to compete. So by seeing all these definitions, we can come across some three important points. That is, there must be a single seller producer, means it may be a individual proprietor or a group of partners or a joint stock company. So there is only one firm in the monopoly. So that single firm is constitute an industry. Okay, and second one we'll see that there is no close substitutes for the product. So like we'll see that in this case, like public utility services like water supply and even transmission, that is electric transmission company which has no close substitutes. So and because of all this, there is the cross elasticity. So of demand is zero because there is no close substitute existed. And another important observation what we can see from the definition, there's a strong barriers to entry and exit in the industry. So anyone to enter in and exit out, there's a strong barriers. So another important observation we can see in the monopoly is that so the monopoly cannot dictate the price and the quantity. simultaneously. This is one important. So he can decide only one of these variables. Either he can dictate the price or it may be a quantity, but both cannot dictate simultaneously. Example, if a monopoly decide to dictate the price, then consumer will decide the quantity. On the other hand, if the monopolist decide for the quantity of the output that he wants to be sold in the market, then market will determine the price of the product which a monopoly wants to sell in the market. The important features of the monopoly market. So there are some 11 features which I noted from the different books. Now here we understand here different features. The very first one is that antithesis of competition. The absence of the competition in the market that creates a situation of monopoly. Hence, the seller faces no threat of competition in the market, no antithesis competition. And there is an existence of single seller. There's only one seller in the market. So who has a single control over the market, and there is an absence of substitutes, no substitute for his product. And what I said, the cross elasticity of demand is zero, and because of this the buyers has no alternatives, so cross elasticity become zero in the monopoly. And he is a control over the supply, so he will control over the output and the supply of the market in overall the market supply. Then he is a price maker. So the price taking decision or price fixation is independent because he is the only person. He can set the price to the best of his advantage. He can either change very high price for all his customers, so or maybe he can go for price discrimination, charging uh, different prices to different people, different places. Then there's the entry barriers. So the firms, there is a monopolist, okay, direct competitors, or there is a entries to enter into the industry or firm. It's very difficult. There's a barrier, maybe through legal rights or maybe patent rights, things like that. So firm and industry is the same. There is no difference between firm and industry. The very big firm itself become a industry. If more firms means there may be more numerous products existed. But here single person, okay, he is a total complete control over the supply. The firm's demand curves slopes half the distance between the average revenue curve and the origin. So another important feature is that the nature of the firm. So the nature of the firm is that, so it is a partnership which already quoted, joint stock company, or it may be a public utility which pursues an independent price output decision in the industry or the firm itself. So there is existence of supernormal profit since he is a complete control of the supply, and the shape of the cost curves is very similar to the perfect computation, and that is average variable cost, marginal cost, average total cost, or all the U-shaped curve. So and again, average fixed cost is a rectangular hyperbola. The shape of the curve is rectangular hyperbola. Finally, the causes that leads to the formation of the monopoly. See, the exclusive ownership of some strategic raw materials or the knowledge of production process. The knowledge of production process by a single firm is called that is the main causes which leads to formation of the monopoly. And the patent rights of the firm holds for a particular product or the production process prohibit the anyone to enter in and the to start such kind of to produce such kind of products, not issuing the license by the government, okay, for certain product, or it may be impose certain barriers like a heavy trade barriers to enter into the domestic industry. That is one way that causes the monopoly. And the limiting size of the market that does not encouraging the new firms to enter the industry to produce of that particular product. Then limiting pricing policy that followed by the existing firm which prevent a potential entry uh, to that particular industry. Now we'll see how the demand curve is that. So now in this graph, we can see the vertical axis measures revenue and the cost, and the horizontal axis measures the quantity, and the average revenue curve which slopes downwards, which is half the distance average curve. The MR curve is the half the distance of the air curve, and which is again slopes downwards and which is less than the average revenue. The demand curve of the monopolist is high price inelastic because there is no close substitute and the consumer has very little choice to enter into the industry or the firm. And it is not perfectly inelastic because pure monopoly does not exist at present. Okay, so it faces a normal downward sloping demand curve, also called as the average revenue curve per unit sold and receipts are received. So, which I already quoted, the monopoly cannot set both the price and quantity simultaneously. It has either quantity or it may be a output. He is dictate either quantity or it may be a output. Maybe next class, next video we're going to learn the price and output determination and the short run and the long run. Thank you. Thank you for watching.